The hum of the ship's engine filled the quiet cabin. Mira sat near the wide window of the explorer vessel, staring at the endless dark of space. The stars stretched like scattered gems, cold and distant, yet beautiful. Her mission was supposed to be simple: survey a new sector, scan for resources, and return home. But things had changed the moment her sensors picked up an energy reading that did not match anything from human records. Captain Ryan, the leader of the crew, stepped into the control room. He was calm, but his eyes showed concern. "The signal is strong, Mira. It is coming from that dead planet ahead. Are you sure about this?" Mira nodded. "It is not natural. We should check it." The crew trusted Mira's instincts. She was not the captain, but she had a way of noticing things others missed. The ship turned slowly, heading toward the barren world. Its surface was gray and cracked, as if life had abandoned it long ago. Yet energy readings pulsed from deep under the crust, like a heartbeat waiting to be heard. When they broke through the thin atmosphere, they saw something impossible. Rising from the ground was a city, massive towers made of black stone and glowing silver lines. The city was alive with strange lights that moved like rivers across the buildings. The crew whispered in disbelief. "How can there be a city here?" asked Lena, the ship's engineer. "The planet looks dead." "Not dead," Mira said quietly. "Hidden." The ship landed on a flat surface that seemed built for visitors. The moment they touched down, the ground lit up with glowing lines, guiding them toward the center of the city. The crew looked at each other nervously. Armed only with light rifles, they stepped out. The air was heavy but breathable. Shadows moved along the tall walls. From every side, tall figures appeared. They were aliens, armored, with long limbs and sharp features. Their eyes glowed faintly, and they carried weapons that hummed with energy. The humans froze. There were dozens of them. Too many to fight. Mira felt her heart pound, but kept her hands raised to show peace. One alien stepped forward, its voice deep and echoing through a strange device. "Come." There was no choice. The crew followed. The aliens led them down wide streets carved, with symbols older than any human language. They entered a massive hall, its ceiling high enough to hold a mountain. Bright crystals floated in the air, giving light without fire or wire. At the far end of the hall, a figure stood waiting. The alien queen. She was taller than any of her guards, wearing robes of silver that shimmered like water. Her head bore a crown not made of metal but of living light. Her presence was powerful, commanding silence without words. The humans stopped at the center of the hall, every alien eye fixed on Mira. She shifted uncomfortably, wondering why. Captain Ryan tried to speak. "We come in peace. We are explorers from a distant world." The queen did not respond to him. Instead, her glowing eyes locked on Mira. The room grew so silent Mira could hear her own breath. Then, to the shock of all, the alien queen stepped forward and lowered herself to her knees. The guards gasped. Some even dropped their weapons in disbelief. Mira froze. She could not understand what she was seeing. Why would a ruler of such power bow before her? She wanted to speak, but no words came out. Her crew stared at her in confusion. Captain Ryan whispered, "What is happening?" The queen bowed her head low and spoke in a language that Mira did not know. Yet somehow, she felt the meaning press into her mind like a gentle hand. The queen was saying, "At last, the one from the stars has come." Mira's hands trembled. She was just an explorer, nothing more. She had trained for missions, for survival, for science. She was not a leader, not a warrior, not a queen. Why would this alien ruler bow to her? The hall filled with murmurs. The guards were restless, their glowing eyes fixed on Mira with fear and awe. Mira looked at her crew. They were as lost as she was. Lena whispered. She is kneeling to you. Only you. Mira's mind raced. She wanted to deny it, to shout that they had the wrong person, but something deep inside her told her this was only the beginning. The city, the signal, the queen, none of it was an accident. She was here for a reason she did not yet understand. The queen lifted her head. Her eyes still glowed, but softer now, almost like a plea. She spoke again, this time through the device that translated her words into broken human speech. We have waited. You are the one written in our sky, the one who brings change. Mira felt her throat tighten. She wanted to say no, to tell them she was not who they thought. Yet the queen's voice carried such weight that the words died in her chest. The hall remained silent, all waiting for her response. Mira took a step back, her voice shaking. I am only human. I do not know what you mean. But the queen stayed on her knees, eyes unblinking. To her, Mira was not just human. To her, Mira was something far greater. The silence in the great hall stretched long after the queen lowered herself. Mira could hear her own heartbeat echoing in her chest. Around her, the alien guards exchanged uneasy glances, their glowing eyes shifting between the queen and the human who stood frozen in confusion. Captain Ryan took a cautious step forward. His voice was steady but tense. We mean no harm. We only came here after following an energy signal. If there has been some mistake, we can leave. The queen did not rise. Instead, she raised one hand and the entire hall quieted at once. Her voice carried through the translator, though the words came heavy and broken. No mistake. The stars have spoken. She has come. Her glowing eyes did not leave Mira. Mira swallowed hard. You do not know me. I am only an explorer. Why? Would you kneel? The queen turned her gaze to the guards and the watching court. She spoke in her own language now, her voice strong and commanding. The aliens murmured in response, as if ancient words were being spoken that had not been heard for many years. The device at Mira's belt caught fragments of the speech, trying to shape meaning. The words appeared across her wrist screen in rough form, prophecy, being of flesh and light, return of hope, chosen one. Mira shook her head. This cannot be. I am not chosen. I am just a person. Lena stepped close, her whisper sharp. Mira, they believe in something bigger than us. Look at them. They all think you are part of this prophecy. The queen lifted herself from her knees, but kept her head slightly bowed. Her voice was calmer, now, like a mother speaking to a child. Long ago, before my crown, before my people were broken, there was a legend told by our seers. It said that when the end grew near, when our world lost its voice, a visitor would come from beyond the dark. This visitor would not be like us, not of our blood, but would carry the strength to change the path of our kind. Her words flowed through the translator. Mira could sense the weight behind them. She could feel the eyes of every alien on her, watching, waiting for her reaction. Captain Ryan crossed his arms. With respect, Your Majesty, we are not here to fulfill stories. We came by chance, nothing more. But the queen did not look at him. She looked only at Mira. Not chance. Fate! The crew shifted uneasily. They were explorers, not heroes. Yet here they stood, in the center of a vast alien hall, facing a ruler who believed one of them was written into destiny itself. Mira tried to steady her breathing. She had always believed in facts, in science, in reason. Legends and prophecies belonged to stories told by firelight, not to the silence of the stars. And yet here she stood, with an entire alien people staring at her as if she were the key to their survival. The queen moved closer, her long steps soft against the glowing floor. She stood before Mira, taller by almost 2 heads, but her voice softened again. You do not yet know who you are to us. But we know. We have waited across many generations. Our children grew under chains. Our skies burned under the rule of the conquerors. Yet always we waited, because the prophecy gave us one gift: hope. And now you are here. Mira's throat felt tight. You believe I can save you, but I do not even know what danger you face. The queen's eyes glimmered. She lifted her hand, and the walls of the hall shimmered like liquid. Images appeared, shining in light and shadow. Mira and her crew gasped as the visions unfolded. They saw fleets of alien ships, vast and cruel, sweeping across worlds. They saw planets stripped of life, cities crumbling under fire. They saw beings with cold armor and burning red eyes, the conquerors who ruled with fear. And they saw this very world, once green and alive, now gray and broken under their heel. The queen spoke as the images faded. We are prisoners within our own skies. We are forced to serve, to give our strength, our lives, to the empire of chains. We cannot rise, not alone. The prophecy says that the visitor from the stars will guide us. Give us what we have lost. Mira's legs felt heavy. She lowered herself onto one knee, trying to understand. Why me? I am not special. I cannot lead a war. I do not even know your ways. The queen touched her chest with one long hand, a gesture of respect. You are human. That is enough. The words struck Mira strangely. She looked at her own hands. What did being human mean to them? Humanity was still young among the stars. They were not rulers of galaxies. They were explorers, still learning. Yet in the queen's eyes, that alone was power. The crew whispered among themselves. Some of them looked at Mira with doubt, others with fear. Lena gave her a look of worry, but also quiet trust. Maybe there is something they see in us that we do not. Captain Ryan stepped forward. His tone was firm but respectful. Your Majesty, I must remind you we are few. We do not have the strength to fight empires. If you place hope in us, it may be hope lost. But the queen raised her head high, her crown of light glowing brighter. We do not ask you to fight alone. We ask you to lead us, to remind us what courage is. For too long we have lived with chains on our spirit. We have forgotten how to rise. You can show us. Mira wanted to refuse. She wanted to say that it was impossible. Yet when she looked into the eyes of the queen, she saw something she could not deny. It was not only desperation, it was faith. The hall erupted with voices. The aliens spoke rapidly in their tongue, some filled with hope, others with fear. Mira could feel the weight of their expectations pressing down on her shoulders. She was only human, but to them she was more. Her mind spun with doubt, but a small voice deep within whispered that this was not chance. Perhaps she had been brought here for a reason. Perhaps her steps had been guided by something greater than she could understand. The queen raised her hands, and silence returned. She looked at Mira once more. The prophecy has begun. You will see the truth. You will see why you were chosen. Mira stood there trembling, caught between disbelief and the pull of destiny. The queen's words echoed inside her, louder than her own thoughts. The one from the stars has come. The chamber emptied slowly after the queen's words, but the echo of her voice stayed with Mira and her crew. Guards withdrew to the walls, though their glowing eyes never left the visitors. The queen remained close, her tall figure glowing faintly in the dim light. She studied Mira with a gaze that was not threatening, but filled with expectation. Mira shifted uncomfortably under that gaze. She wanted to speak, yet every time she opened her mouth, no words came. She was not a savior. She was not chosen. She was only human. But the queen believed otherwise. Captain Ryan tried to take control of the moment. He stepped forward and bowed his head slightly. showing respect. Your Majesty, if what you say is true, then explain it clearly. What is it you want from us? The Queen turned her eyes from Mira to the captain. Her voice, carried by the translator, filled the hall with a quiet power. I want freedom for my people. I want the chains broken. I want the fire in their hearts to burn again. We live under the shadow of the Empire. Every day we give, but nothing is ours. Our skies belong to them, our lives belong to them. We survive, but we do not live. This must end. The words fell heavy on the humans. They could see the truth in her voice. She was not speaking of a small problem. She was speaking of generations of suffering. Lena frowned. You want us to fight an empire? We are explorers, not soldiers. The Queen's glowing eyes softened, yet her words did not lose strength. I do not ask you to fight for us. I ask you to show us how to fight, to remind us of the strength we once had. Mira's hands curled into fists at her side. She wanted to step back, to refuse, to walk away from this weight. But she could not move. Something about the Queen's words held her in place. The Queen stepped closer to Mira, lowering her voice until it was almost gentle. You do not see yourself as chosen. That is good. The ones who believe they are meant to rule are often cruel. But you doubt. You question. That makes you strong. You are human, and that is enough. Mira's voice cracked. Why do you keep saying that? What does being human mean to you? The Queen raised her hand, her long fingers brushing the air as if touching a memory. Your kind is young, yet your fire burns bright. We have seen it in the stars. We have watched your people struggle, fight storms, cross oceans, build homes. From dust, stand together when the dark tried to break you. You fall, yet you rise again. That is what we lost under the Empire. That is what we need. The hall grew quiet. Mira felt the words sink deep into her chest. She had never thought of humanity as special. To her, people were only people, flawed, fragile, searching. But to this alien queen, humanity was a symbol of something greater. Captain Ryan broke the silence. Even if we wanted to help, we are only a handful. We have no fleets, no armies. What can a few humans do against an empire? The Queen lifted her chin, her crown of light glowing brighter. You can give us back our spirit. Armies can be built, ships can be made, but courage cannot be forced. It must be awakened, and only you can awaken it. The crew exchanged uneasy looks. The task sounded impossible, yet the Queen spoke with such certainty that it was difficult to argue. Mira finally found her voice. I cannot promise what you ask. I do not even know how to lead myself, let alone your people. The Queen bent slightly, lowering herself so her glowing eyes were level with Mira's. You will learn. We will stand with you. I will stand with you. You are not alone. The words struck Mira deeply. All her life she had trained to be an explorer. Someone who mapped stars, who studied rocks and gases, who reported findings back to Earth. She had never trained to lead, but when she looked at the Queen, she saw not only desperation, but also trust. The Queen turned to the guards and spoke in her own language. The chamber doors opened, and several aliens entered carrying objects wrapped in silver cloth. They placed them before Mira and her crew, then stepped back. The Queen gestured. These are our relics, symbols of the warriors who came before us. We kept them hidden from the Empire, waiting for the one from the stars. Now they are yours. The humans unwrapped the objects. Inside were weapons unlike any they had seen before. They glowed faintly, humming with ancient energy. Some were blades, some were staffs, some were strange devices with shifting shapes. Mira hesitated before touching one. When her hand finally closed around the hilt of a blade, a spark of light ran along its edge. The Queen's voice rang out. The relics accept you. They know you. The crew stepped back in awe. Even Captain Rian, always calm and steady, looked shaken. Mira released the weapon quickly, her heart racing. No, this is too much. You expect me to be something I am not. The Queen placed her hand over Mira's. You are exactly what you need to be. Nothing more, nothing less. For a moment, Mira felt the weight of the Queen's touch. It was not heavy like a chain. It was steady like a promise. The Queen finally rose to her full height. Her voice carried across the chamber. We cannot wait any longer. The Empire grows stronger. Soon their fleets will return to demand more from us. If we do nothing, our world will die completely. But if you lead us, if you stand with us, then perhaps the story will change. Perhaps there will be a new dawn. Mira looked at her crew. She saw fear, but she also saw something else. Possibility. Maybe they could not fight an empire, but maybe they could teach. Maybe they could inspire. Maybe they could remind this world what it meant to rise after falling. Her voice trembled but held steady. I do not know if I am the one you think I am, but I will not turn away. I will help you, if I can. The Queen's eyes glowed brighter, and for the first time, Mira saw something beyond power in them. She saw relief. The Queen bowed her head once more. Then hope lives again. The next morning, Mira stood in a chamber deep within the alien city. The walls glowed faintly with streams of light that moved like water. The air was cool, almost heavy, as if the space itself carried a memory of ancient times. The Queens. Guards had led Mira and her crew through endless halls before bringing them here. Now the Queen herself stood beside Mira, her tall form glowing faintly. Around them, other aliens gathered in silence, watching. The Queen spoke in her calm but firm voice. My people believe in the prophecy. Yet belief alone is not enough. The old ways demand proof. The trial of echoes must be faced. Only the one chosen by the stars can endure it. Mira's chest tightened. She looked at Captain Ryan, who frowned deeply. Your Majesty, this is dangerous. Mira is only human. She is not trained for whatever trial you speak of. The Queen turned her glowing eyes on him. If she is not the one, the trial will show it. If she is, then nothing will break her. Mira felt the weight of everyone's eyes. She had not asked to be part of this, yet here she was. The Queen's people looked at her with expectation, hope, and fear. If she refused, she would crush their faith. If she accepted, she might lose her life. Her voice was quiet but steady. What must I do? The Queen raised her hand, and the glowing wall behind them shifted. A doorway opened, leading into darkness. Step inside. The chamber will judge. You. It will test your spirit, not your strength. If you pass, the prophecy is true. If you fail, the chamber will return you broken. Lena grabbed Mira's arm, her face pale. You do not have to do this. We can leave. Let them find another way. But Mira shook her head. If I turn away now, they will lose all hope. I cannot do that to them. She tried to smile, though her stomach churned. Besides, maybe it is not as bad as it sounds. She stepped forward before she could change her mind. The darkness of the doorway swallowed her as the chamber closed behind her. Inside, silence wrapped around her. The air felt thick, as if time itself had slowed. The floor beneath her feet glowed faintly, forming a path into the shadows. Then the voices began. At first they were whispers, faint and distant. But soon they grew louder. Mira turned, but there was no one there. The voices were her own, yet not her own. They spoke doubts she had buried deep. You are weak. You are only human. You cannot save anyone. Her breath quickened. She tried to shut out the words, but the chamber pulsed with their sound. The path ahead twisted, showing shapes in the dark. She saw visions. Humanity's past rose before her like living fire. She saw people huddled in caves, fighting storms and beasts. She saw ships of wood crossing endless oceans. She saw men and women standing together against armies, refusing to break. The voices tried to drown it out. They suffered. They fell. You will fall too. But Mira kept walking. Step by step she moved forward, her eyes fixed on the light of those visions. She whispered to herself, "We always rise again." The chamber shifted. Now she stood in the middle of a battlefield. Alien soldiers lay broken, cities burned, skies filled with fire. In the center stood the conquerors, tall and armored, their red eyes burning. One of them raised a weapon, pointing it at her. Her heart pounded. She had no weapon, no shield. Fear pressed against her chest. But then she heard another sound, children crying, voices calling for help. She turned and saw alien families huddled together, waiting for someone to stand for them. Her legs trembled, but she stepped forward, putting herself between the conquerors and the helpless. "I will not run." The vision froze. The conquerors vanished like smoke. The cries faded. A warm light spread across the chamber. The voices returned, but now they were different. They no longer whispered doubt. They spoke with strength. "You endure. You rise. You are human." Mira fell to her knees, not from weakness, but from the weight of what she had seen. She had not fought with weapons. She had not commanded armies. She had simply chosen to stand, even when fear told her to run. The chamber brightened. The darkness melted away. And then, without warning, she was back in the hall. The crowd gasped. The queen stood waiting, her glowing eyes wide with awe. Mira looked down at herself. She was unharmed, yet something had changed. Her hands glowed faintly with a light that slowly faded, leaving only warmth behind. The queen stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. "The chamber has spoken. She is the one." The aliens fell to their knees. The guards bowed their heads. Even the floating crystals above glowed brighter, as if the city itself rejoiced. Captain Ryan ran to Mira, gripping her shoulders. "Are you all right? What happened in there?" Mira shook her head slowly. "It showed me us, humanity, all the struggles we faced, all the times we refused to give up. That is why I passed. Not because I am strong, but because we endure." The queen placed her hand over her heart and bowed her head deeply. "And that is what we need. Not power, not armies, but the will to rise again. You are the proof, Mira. You are the sign we have waited for." Mira looked at the crowd kneeling before her. For the first time, she did not feel like an outsider. She felt the weight of their hope, and though it frightened her, it also gave her strength. She whispered to herself, "Maybe this is why I am here." The queen raised her arms, her voice echoing across the hall. "The prophecy is true. The time of waiting is over. We will rise." The hall erupted in cries of joy. The aliens shouted in their own tongue, voices filled with hope and fire. For generations they had lived under chains, but now, because of one human, they believed in freedom again. Mira stood in the center of it all, her heart heavy yet steady. She knew this was only the beginning. The trial had proven her. But now, the real test awaited. For if hope had been awakened, it would soon be challenged. The city had changed after Mira passed the trial of echoes. The streets that once felt silent and broken now carried a pulse of energy. Wherever she walked with the queen, the aliens bowed their heads or touched their chests in respect. To them, she was no longer a stranger from the stars. She was a symbol, a spark that had lit their fire again. Mira, however, carried the weight heavily. She sat in the council chamber with her crew, running her hand over her forehead. They look at me as if I can save them, but I am only one person. How can I stand against an empire? Captain Rian leaned against the wall, his arms crossed. You are not alone. You have us, and you have them. Sometimes a symbol is more powerful than an army. They believe in you, and that belief can move mountains. Lena nodded. They do not just need a leader. They need to remember how to fight. You can teach them. That is something humans know very well. The queen entered then, her tall figure, shining with calm strength. She spoke as she approached Mira. The Empire has taken our strength, but not our spirit. We are ready to rise again, but we do not know how. Your kind has fought many battles. Show us your ways. Teach us to be free. Mira hesitated. She was not a soldier, but she knew human history. She knew how humans had survived when stronger enemies tried to crush them. She rose to her feet and nodded. If we do this, we must be smart. We cannot face them in open war. We must use the strength of our minds. We must use the strength of the people. The training began the very next day. The city's great plaza became a field of preparation. Alien warriors lined up, tall and disciplined, but their movements were slow and predictable. They were used to following orders, not thinking on their own. Mira watched them carefully, then spoke in a firm voice. You are strong, but strength alone is not enough. The Empire knows strength. They expect it. You must become unpredictable. You must think, not just fight. She showed them how to move in small groups, how to strike quickly and vanish before the enemy could respond. She used simple strategies humans had relied on for centuries: ambushes, misdirection, traps. The aliens struggled at first, unused, to breaking formation. But slowly, with patience, they learned. Lena worked with the engineers of the city. Together, they studied old machines hidden in vaults, building weapons that could be used again. Your technology is advanced, Lena told them, but you do not use it freely. You fear the Empire will notice. Now it is time to use everything you have kept hidden. The aliens began crafting traps powered by energy crystals, small flying, scouts shaped like glowing birds, and armor designed to bend light and shadow. Captain Rian trained the guards in endurance. Fighting is not just about skill. It is about will. You must push past pain, past fear. If you stop when it hurts, you lose. If you keep moving, you win. The plaza echoed with the sounds of drills, shouts, and determination. Day by day, the broken people became warriors again. Yet Mira knew time was short. Word of their uprising would soon reach the Empire. Already scouts brought news of strange ships seen near the edges of the system. The Queen confirmed their fear. The Empire will come soon. They will not allow this light to grow. We must be ready before they arrive. At night, Mira stood on the balcony of the palace, looking out over the glowing city. The Queen joined her, silent for a long moment. Finally, she spoke. You carry the weight of the stars on your shoulders, yet you are still steady. You doubt, but you keep walking. That is why they follow you. Mira shook her head. I am afraid. Every moment I am afraid. What if I lead them to their end? The Queen placed her hand gently on Mira's shoulder. Fear is not weakness. Fear reminds us what we protect. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is walking forward even when fear tries to hold you back. That is what you give them. Mira looked into the Queen's glowing eyes. Do you believe we can win? Yes, the Queen said softly. Not because of prophecy, not because of power, but because of choice. You have given us the choice to fight. That is victory already. The following days brought signs of what was coming. A captured message from the Empire's patrol revealed their plan. A fleet was being prepared. They meant to crush the rising resistance before it could grow. Mira gathered the council and the warriors. We cannot wait for them to arrive and strike the heart of the city. We must take the fight to them, not with armies, but with cunning. We will make them doubt themselves. We will make them believe we are stronger than we are. She laid out a plan. Small groups would spread through the outer lands, striking Empire patrols, cutting supply lines, and vanishing before they could be caught. The Empire would think an army was already rising. Meanwhile, the city would prepare defenses in secret, hidden under the ground and within the walls. The warriors listened closely, nodding as Mira spoke. For the first time in many years, their eyes carried fire. The first strikes began within days. A patrol ship of the Empire vanished in the canyons, swallowed by traps and collapsing stone. Supply lines were cut. Outposts found their weapons stolen. Their soldiers tied and left alive to tell the story. The Empire's commanders grew restless. They sent more ships, more soldiers, but every time they came, the resistance was already gone, leaving only whispers and shadows. The aliens began to believe. Each victory, small as it was, felt like a mountain had been moved. They gathered in the city plazas, chanting Mira's name, calling her the Starborn. Mira felt the weight grow heavier, but she did not let it crush her. She stood before them and said, "It is not me alone. It is all of you. Together you are stronger than chains. Together you are free." The queen stood beside her, her crown of light shining bright. "Hope has returned to our world," she said, "and hope will not die again." Yet even as they celebrated, Mira knew the storm was coming. The small victories had bought them time, but the Empire would not stay blind for long. Soon, the fleet would arrive in full strength. The Rising. Resistance had begun. The greatest battle was yet to come. The first ships of the Empire appeared as small specks against the black of space, glinting like sharp teeth under the distant sun. Mira stood at the command balcony of the alien city, her heart pounding, but her mind clear. The rising resistance was ready, not with vast armies, but with cunning, creativity, and courage. The queen, Salira, stood beside her, glowing softly. "They come faster than I expected," she said. Her voice was calm, but carried the weight of generations. "Are you prepared?" Mira nodded. "We are ready, not for every challenge, but for the ones we must face. Our strength is our mind and our spirit." The alien warriors lined the walls, each one carrying weapons and relics that had been hidden from the Empire for centuries. They moved silently, their training with Mira showing in their fluid motions. Scouts hovered above the city, shimmering, like glowing birds, watching for the first signs of attack. The Empire's fleet entered the system, their ships massive and dark, engines roaring through the vacuum. The humans and aliens watched quietly as the first wave moved closer. Mira took a deep breath. "Remember what I taught you. Use the land, the city, and your minds. Make them doubt what they see. We are stronger than they think." The first attack came from above. The Empire sent a small strike group, hoping to overwhelm the city's defenses. But Mira's strategies had prepared the warriors. Glowing energy nets rose from the walls, entangling the ships. Hidden traps activated, collapsing parts of the canyon outside the city, crushing the landing zones. The alien warriors moved in. Precise formations, striking quickly and vanishing before the Empire could respond. The Empire commander cursed through his translator device. "They are not simple targets. They move like shadows, vanish like smoke. What are they using?" Mira watched from the balcony as the city's forces turned the tide. Small groups of alien warriors attacked supply ships, disabling engines and redirecting vessels into asteroid fields. Scouts relayed every move back to Mira, who adjusted tactics like a seasoned general. The Queen stepped beside her. "Your mind is sharper than any weapon I have ever known. Even our best commanders would not think like this." Mira shook her head. "It is not me alone. It is all of us. Their courage, their willingness to fight, it makes the difference." The Empire's fleet faltered under the constant pressure. Their soldiers were trained to follow orders, but they could not predict the guerrilla tactics, the traps, or the hidden forces. Confusion spread among their ranks. Seeing this, Mira took a daring decision. "We strike at the heart of their command ship," she said. "A small team. We go now while they are distracted." Captain Ryan looked at her. "You mean you and us?" "Yes," Mira said. "We can do this. The rest of the city holds the defense. If we take their command, they will retreat." The Queen's eyes glowed with trust. "Go, and may the stars guide you." Mira, Ryan, and a few skilled warriors boarded a sleek alien craft, small enough to move through the chaos but fast and powerful. As they approached the Empire flagship, alarms blared, red lights flashing. The enemy crew scrambled, unsure of how such a small force could reach their heart. Mira's hands moved quickly over the controls, remembering every lesson in human tactics, every strategy they had studied. The craft darted between massive engines and weapons turrets, invisible to sensors until it was too late. They reached the central command. Guards tried to stop them, but the humans and aliens fought together seamlessly. Blades and energy weapons moved in perfect coordination. Every move was calculated, precise, and unexpected. Finally, they reached the enemy commander, a tall figure, in red armor. His voice boomed. "You are fools to enter here." Mira raised her weapon. "We are not fools. We are free beings who refuse to bow." The commander attacked, but Mira and the warriors anticipated every strike. In a swift movement, the commander fell, disarmed and defeated. The control systems of the fleet began to falter. Ships collided, engines overloaded, and the fleet became chaos. Mira's crew cheered quietly. The small team had struck a decisive blow. The Empire's forces, confused and leaderless, began to retreat. Back in the city, the warriors shouted in victory. The alien people had fought with skill, courage, and cunning. They had defended their home not through sheer strength, but through heart and mind. The Queen appeared before Mira, her crown of light shining brighter than ever. "You have done what was thought impossible. You have turned the tide." Mira shook her head. "It was not impossible. It was them. Their courage made the difference. They fought because they believed. We only reminded them." The city erupted in celebration. Streets filled with aliens cheering, drums echoing, light beams rising into the sky. The rising resistance had succeeded in its first great battle. Mira stood on the balcony, looking at the horizon. The Empire had been beaten for now, but she knew this was only the beginning. Other fleets would come, other challenges would arise, but for this moment they had won. The Queen joined her silently. After a long pause, she said, "You are the one from the stars, Mira. Not because of power, but because of heart. That is why you succeeded." Mira smiled faintly. "I am only human. That is all I ever needed to be." The city below continued to celebrate. Hope had returned. Freedom had been remembered. And one human, who doubted herself until the very end, had inspired an entire world to rise. The stars above seemed to shine brighter that night, as if acknowledging the courage of the few who dared to face an empire and remind the galaxy that even small beings could change its course. Mira knew the battle was won, but the war was far from over. She also knew one truth clearly. The strength of humans was not in weapons or technology, but in their ability to endure, adapt, and inspire those who had long forgotten how to hope. And with that thought, she prepared for whatever. The night after the great battle, the city rested quietly. Fires burned softly in the plazas, casting golden light on the streets. For the first time in generations, the alien people slept without fear. The Empire's fleet had retreated, broken, and confused, giving the rising resistance a moment of peace. Mira walked through the streets with Captain Rian and Lena. The city was alive with whispers of hope. Children ran through the squares, their laughter ringing in the air. Adults repaired buildings, cleaned streets, and shared food with one another. Even the air seemed lighter, as if the city itself breathed easier. "Look at them," Lena said, softly. "They've changed because of you." Mira shook her head. "No, I didn't change them. They changed themselves. I only reminded them what they had lost." The queen, Salira, appeared at the top of the grand stairway, her crown of light glowing like the first sun of morning. The people fell silent as she spoke. Her voice carried over the city, calm yet powerful. "Tonight, we celebrate not just victory but freedom. We remember the courage we thought we had lost, and we honor the one from the stars who reminded us to rise again." The crowd cheered. Mira felt warmth in her chest. She had never sought praise, yet she realized that the people were celebrating something larger than her. They were celebrating hope. Salira continued, "The Empire may return. Other challenges will come. But now we know that we are strong, that we are united. Our spirit can never again be broken. We will build a future worthy of the stars." Mira stepped forward, her voice steady despite the emotions pressing on her. "I came here as an explorer. I did not know I would be part of your story. But now I see something very important. It is not about being chosen or powerful. It is about choosing to act when it matters most. You all have done that. You fought, you endured, and you believed. That is why we are free today." The crowd erupted in cheers again, louder than before. Mira smiled, feeling a connection to these beings she had once seen as strangers. They were no longer strangers. They were friends, allies, and a reminder of what courage could create. Captain Ryan approached her. "You know this is only the beginning, right?" Mira nodded. "I know. But for the first time I feel ready. We have faced fear, doubt, and impossible odds, and we won. That gives us strength for what comes next." Salira joined them, her eyes reflecting both pride and determination. "We will need that strength. The Empire will not forget this day, but they will also remember something else, the power of courage and hope. With you, Mira, at our side, we have learned that even the smallest spark can light the darkest night." The next morning, Mira walked to the edge of the city with Lena. Beyond the walls, the landscape stretched into forests, rivers, and mountains. For centuries, these lands had been under control of the Empire, their people living in fear. Now, everything was different. "They will rebuild," Lena said, looking out over the horizon. "Everything destroyed will be restored, and we will help them." Mira's eyes glimmered. "Yes, and more than that, we will teach them how to protect themselves, how to think freely, and how to rise again if darkness comes. This is not just victory. This is a new beginning." The queen joined them, placing a hand on Mira's shoulder. "You have done more than lead. You have reminded us of what it means to be alive. You have restored hope." Mira felt the weight of her journey. She had doubted herself at every step. She had feared failure, feared the responsibility of a prophecy she did not understand. Yet in the end, she realized something profound. Strength did not come from power alone or from destiny. Strength came from courage, compassion, and the choice to act. Back in the city, the aliens worked tirelessly to rebuild. Workshops hummed with activity. Engineers and inventors created new tools, and teachers gathered children to share knowledge and history. The city was alive with energy and purpose. Mira and her crew stayed close, guiding and advising when needed, but always letting the aliens lead. It was their city, their people, and their future. Mira understood that leadership was not about being in front. It was about standing beside those who would carry the world forward. As days passed, news arrived from neighboring systems. Other planets under the Empire's rule were hearing of the rising resistance. Small uprisings began to appear. The seeds of freedom were spreading. Mira stood atop the palace balcony one evening, looking at the stars. The galaxy seemed vast, yet no longer lonely. She had arrived as a stranger, uncertain of her place. Now she saw that her presence had made a difference, not because she was special, but because she acted when it mattered. Salira joined her silently, the light of her crown reflecting off Mira's eyes. The prophecy did not speak only of battles or victories. It spoke of hope returning, and hope has returned because of you. Mira shook her head, smiling. I only did what any human would do. I chose to stand when it mattered most. The Queen's gaze softened. Then humanity's spirit is stronger than we knew, and perhaps one day it will spread across the stars, carrying freedom and courage wherever it goes. The city below glowed in celebration, a reminder that light could shine even after darkness had ruled for so long. Mira realized that the rising resistance was more than a battle. It was a promise that no matter how strong the enemy, no matter how long the chains, courage and hope could awaken hearts, inspire minds, and change the course of history. As the sun rose, painting the sky in shades of gold and violet, Mira felt a sense of peace. The Empire had been challenged, freedom had returned, and a new chapter had begun. She had not been chosen for glory or power, but for action and heart. And that was more than enough. Mira turned to the Queen, to her crew, and to the people of the city. This is only the beginning, she said. Together, we will make sure that hope never dies again. The Queen smiled. The city shimmered in the morning light, and the stars above seemed to shine brighter. A new dawn had arrived. For Mira, for the alien people, and for every being who had believed. The future was theirs to shape, and now they would shape it together.